ready to begin construction of a pedal board. I've got some red oak that I've kind of created some rough planks. I've made a template for the side, and I've marked out on the board, and I'll cut those out on the bandsaw. We'll attach the template to them and route the final shape so that both sides are identical. I've got material that I've got to mill up for the slats to hold the pedals. I've got some support material to keep the middle from sagging and to dress the front and back. And I've got another template that I will make up. I'm going to inset the slats into the sides to give it more strength. So let me get over to the bandsaw and we'll start cutting the sides. I have the basic shapes cut out. And what I'll do now is I will double stick tape the template on and cut these guys, make them their final size. After routing now, I have two identical sides. So what I'll do is I'm going to make up the template, which we're going to place on the piece, and then we're going to route out the slots for the slats that will be glued into place. So this is the template I've made. It's actually a mirror template, so we'll do one this way, and then the other one will go this way. And because I'm running the router on top, I can't use clamps to hold it onto the piece. So I'm going to attach a fence to the back, and this will allow me to clamp the fence and the template will stay in place. So what I'm going to use is CA glue. I could use screws, but I'd have to make sure they were flush to the top edge, which I don't really want to do. So I've marked on the template where the fence has to go, so that my sides will line up flush to the edge. That way all the recesses will be even and spread out the same distance. Take some super glue. Just wait for that to dry. Just going to verify we're at the edge. And then we'll be ready to route those recesses for the super glue is dried. Now I can attach the template to the piece. What I've done is I've marked the inside of both pieces to make sure that I route the right side and we don't end up having to make another side. And then I'm making sure that I get the back edge of the template lined up. And I'll clamp it in place and we'll route the recesses. I've set up to make the first pass. I have to consider the thickness of the template so that it rides on the bearing of the router. So I'm kind of it's a 3/8 depth bit. We'll do it in 2 passes. The first pass we'll take out 3/8, which is a little more than I'm comfortable with, but I really don't have much of a choice because of the thickness of my template. But it'll be okay. We'll just go really slow. Okay, the first pass is done on the first piece. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the template and put it on the second piece. That way I have the router at the same setting. We'll put the template back on and reset the depth. I really can't do it without the template in place, which normally I would be able to because of the thin edge. I don't have enough surface for the router to rest on. But they're looking pretty good so far. So what we've done now is we've dropped the bit down so that it's sitting 1/2 inch below the template, and now we'll run the router through again and get to our final depth. Notice the router is unplugged between cuts. We have the routing complete. All of these are the same depth. They're in the exact same place on both pieces. So our piece should come together nice and square. Now, these corners are rounded, and I could have squared them up, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to round over the edges of the slats. So 2 of the slats will have roundovers on all 4 corners, and 2 of the slats will only have roundovers on the inside corner. So hopefully you'll see what it's like when I get it all put together. So I've got the slats here. We're going to rip them to 2 inches because that's how wide the slot is for the slats that we made with our template. So we'll get those ripped to 2 inches, and then we'll fit them into the slots. Set up on the router table because we have to round the ends over. So I made up a sample out of poplar so I could get the bit set exactly where it needed to be. And you'll see that fits like a glove. One of my slots is a little narrower than the others, so I marked it with an N, and I made a slat that I also marked with an N that I just planed a slight amount off. It was like a 64th of an inch too narrow, but now it should all fit together when I put it. And I have a fence on my miter gauge, and that will prevent some tear out, hopefully. Oak is tough. Just got to put my safety guard over, and we will route those edges. So what I'm doing is I'm actually passing the edges over vertically to get that rounded. The first test fitting. Not too bad. I think we're looking pretty good. May need to re-thickness a couple of those slats just because they're poking up just a little bit. This one's nice and flush, this one's nice and flush. But these two seem to be a little thicker, and they actually were from a piece of shiplap that I had made, which might have been slightly thicker than the others, but we'll run those through the drum sander a few passes and get that thickness down, and then it'll all be done. An initial sanding on all the pieces. We've fitted it up, got it square, and we're ready to do our initial glue up. Thanks for watching. In part 2, we will add a center support and finish this guy up after a glue up.